Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another installment of Show to Be with Mike G, the show of life, the show of tequila, the show of Guadalajara, Washington, D.C., learning English, learning how to be a host, and so much more. It's been months in the making, but finally today, I have a great chat with Alan Ruesga-Pelayo from Cazadores Tequila. It's been a back and forth via email, but he finally was recently here in Austin, Texas during ACL weekend, and we got to sit down and chat. Now, I'm going to say, I am not the biggest fan of tequila. I will drink it. I think I've been pretty outspoken about my thoughts about agave and mezcal in particular, but it was great sitting down to learn more about the Cazadores precision and process, and there's a bit of talk about the diffuser. So you guys digest it, think, and get back to me. Let me know exactly how you feel. So without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy this great chat with Alan Ruesga-Pelayo of Cazadores Tequila.
Guadalajara, and at the age of 21, I've been in the United States like almost 16 years.
Right.
So at the age of 21, I decided to move to the United States.
Yeah.
And the reason is because my sister used to live in Washington, D.C.
D.C., okay.
So I went to go and visit her, and she found me a job. And it was in the restaurant industry.
Interesting.
But it wasn't that easy. She had like a couple of people that she probably believe it would be opportunity for me.
Yeah.
But then I didn't speak any English back then.
Oh, okay.
So we went there. My sister helped me to fill out the application. And then at the time of the interview, it was in English. So I was like, trying my best. And then the third time, of course, because I didn't speak the language, they were like, oh, sorry, no.
Right.
Because I was looking for something more like a bar back, things like that. And because I have no experience in the kitchen, so.
Well, so here's the thing. We all kind of start from somewhere, right? And yeah, I love that you take both your father and your mother's last name, right?
Yeah.
Which makes it a very, very operatic name. Pelago?
No, Pelayo is a bad word. No, but this is Pelayo.
Pelayo.
So Ruesga, Pelayo.
So this influence on your name, even when you're growing up in Guadalajara, what kinds of things were you interested in? Did you feel like you needed to follow in your father's footsteps, follow in your mother's footsteps? What kinds of things really were exciting for you?
For me to keep the both last names?
No, just in general.
In general?
Yeah.
Well, for me, my parents, they're like a huge, basically they raised me, and I really follow a lot, what they're trying to, I say invocar in English, but basically they teach me some, they were trying to build me on some way that I believe it was the right way. So of course, when we're little, we fight with the parents and things like that. But sometimes when I call to my mom or my parents, like, they just start crying. And I was like, because when I talk to them on the phone, which, they're in Guadalajara, I tell all, like, my life, like, how successful it is.
Mm-hmm.
And they get very happy about it.
Yeah.
But then I tell them, like, well, whatever I've been doing is because thanks to you guys. Like, you are the example who give me, like, you raised me this way. Yeah. So I was like, thanks to you guys that you guys did so much effort. I feel, is the person who I am now. Yeah.
A perfect culmination of both sides.
Yeah.
It also, a lot of folks that I talk to in an interview, there's always some kind of background in hospitality, but you don't think about it. Like, my mom was an RN, but RNs and nurses take care of people, as do you behind the bar, right? Yes. So what kinds of occupations did your mother and your father have as a kid?
This is a great, actually, a question, because I have a great story about it. So, well, my dad is an architect.
Oh, yeah.
And my mom, she raised us, but then she's been into French culinary, and then
Really? Yeah, I
yeah,
just made a face. Yeah.
yeah. And then also she's been doing what else? Interior designing. But my parents, they have tons of friends.
Yeah?
And they like to host parties. So I am the youngest of three brothers and two sisters. And basically when they were doing like these reuniones, which is kind of the reunions in my city. So my parents, they have a strict designated job from each of us.
Okay.
So by
I
the
see.
guests, they walk in, some of my siblings, they were in charge of taking the jacket. The other one, they was in charge of making the cocktail. The other person, he was in charge of making, offering the canapes and things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So I think a lot of the hospitality they have, it came from those reuniones.
Did you have a job that they said, Alan, you're the best at this, so you got to do it every time we have a get together?
I don't think they never say something specific to each of us, but at the end we were just working we were working as a team, my brothers and sisters, and because I'm the youngest, my older brother is 10 years older than me.
Oh, okay.
So by the time they were just probably doing a great job, I was just like ha ha ha, whatever. But through those reunions also, this is how I learn about the spirits.
Yeah.
And what is a beer, and then we start identifying which of my parents' friends, of even uncles, what they were actually they like to drink. So by the time they were coming back to my house, we're like, oh, ron con coca. It's like, oh, you want a tequila neat or in the rocks and things like that. So from there, it's like, okay, well, now I know what's the difference. I know something is different between tequila and ron. I don't know what is it, but I know it's different.
So was it? My whole perception is that aged spirits are the most popular in Mexico. Now that's changing with younger kids really being interested in the raw materials and stuff. Did you see any trends then? People that were drinking this over that?
Back then, brandy.
Yeah.
Brandy was it's still very heavy in Mexico, but back then we have a national spirit. It calls Presidente. And so Presidente back then, it was very heavy. Also cognac. But back then they were drinking a lot of cognac. But I'm talking. They were drinking a lot, but mostly of the people, they were drinking just tequila.
Yeah.
And back then I remember the brands. It was Jimador. It was very heavy. Herradura, José Cuervo Tradicional, and the funny thing is, my grandfather. No bullshit.
Yeah.
He was drinking Cazadores.
Really?
Yes.
How long has the brand been around? And we'll talk about the brand more here in this latest chapter, but roughly how long has it been around?
It starts in the 1920s.
The 20s. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yes. So it's just crazy because that we can go more into deep conversation. But when I have my interview for the current job I have, I told them the story, and they're looking at me like, yeah, right. They're like, no, seriously.
That's the thing, and that's because our desire to be hospitable to others, to host, it always comes from someplace.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Being an architect's a very academic profession. Interior design as well. It takes a bit of schooling, at least a good bit of networking. So as you were kind of trying to make a decision to go to university, was it an expectation that you would follow in either architecture, or that you would do design, or that you would do science? Any expectations there?
No, actually my parents, they were kind of open. The only really cool part about my dad is we helped him a lot, where he was trying to bring us a lot on what is his job, because besides being an architect, basically they have a lot of properties. So my mom is mainly also managing the properties.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I forgot to say. And then so my dad is make sure that they're renovated, or some of them buy it and then it's completely like a mess, and then it's just let's fix it. And basically, part of jobs when I was a little kid is going with my dad to go and make the contracts or buy all the cement and pick up the albañiles, which are the construction guys. And then, I was very, very, because my dad is hands-on. He has like an engineer's friends, but he likes to do everything by his own.
Because it's one of those, do you ever get the sense, that term paying your dues?
Yeah.
Right? So you talk about bar backing in DC, or this is the first job, and we'll circle back here, but you have to get your hands dirty. You can't just hire people to do all those things. You have to be in the weeds with it.
Yeah.
And
I feel like my dad, at his work, he liked to micromanage. But for us, the way he let us, grow, it was more macromanaging.
I see.
Yes.
Any expectation that you would take over the properties or take control? And
so it's basically, it's hard for me to be here, but we definitely had conversations that, our parents, or I don't know if your parents are still alive, but but parents are not forever, at some point they want to pass away. So my dad, he's want to make sure that we heritage all these properties, because basically he say that he's been working so hard, not for him, but he wants to just leave us something good for us.
Sure.
So we've been having a lot of reunions, to trying to see what is next, when our parents, they are not with us any longer. And I want to, I'm trying to take part as much I can from here.
Yeah.
Because, we have the internet. I have a cell phone. I can do as much I can from here. Yeah.
That's made it a lot easier to keep in touch with people.
Yes.
You can do business that way. I'm sure you've got meetings with New York all the time. Well, rather you live in New York, but even if you were here in Austin for a month, you'd still be able to touch back.
Hey, I was on my computer working this morning.
Exactly. So you venture off into studies at the university, business administration, if I understand correctly.
En Spanish is administración y negocios internacionales.
Oh, international.
So basically in English is administration and international business. So the major was international business. Yeah.
Good experience for you?
Yeah, definitely. It was. What is funny is that I don't have actually officially my title because I never finished the English exam.
No way. And now, of course, if you were to go back, easy. Boom. Yeah.
But for some reason, it was just, it was really hard for me to learn.
Really?
I still have like this accent, and I still don't forget. Some days English, it gets better than other days.
Yeah.
But back then, I didn't believe it would be like a very important, and it was very frustrating for me. So then when I came to the United States, it was like, oh my goodness, I have no option.
Yeah.
I just have to learn it. And basically, mostly my English, I learned from working in the hospitality. So it's just, it's completely different language.
Absolutely.
I know if you are working in another, like, if you're a doctor,
right,
or if you are like having any different kind of profession. Yeah.
Was there ever the moment where you're thinking, I'm gonna finish everything minus the English degree? Did you want to stay and work in business in Guadalajara, or it was really about your sister's in the States? It looks like a great opportunity. Let me go check it out.
So for me, it was, I came to visit my city, I went to visit my city in DC only for 3 months.
Oh,
I have my return ticket.
So
it was just a vacation.
You kind of have to, right?
Yeah. Well, you have to. Yes. And then I decided to don't go back. It's like I want to extend my staying.
Mm-hmm.
So what I started doing I was flying to different countries like Canada or Spain and come back and just extend my visa. But working in the restaurants, I really fall in love of this industry. I started working as a bar back, but then I started getting curious of how each different position was working. Mm-hmm. So I was asking a lot of questions.
Inquisitive. You're a very inquisitive kind of person.
Yeah. But I was luckily that 90% of the staff, it was Latin.
Okay.
So yes, I was learning a lot of things, but at the same time, I was not practicing that much the English. So then from working as a barback, they start giving me different opportunities. And I was like, what? You gave me an opportunity to go and do that job?
Yeah.
I was like, yes, I would love to do it. And, so basically from bar back, I went to busboy, I worked a little in the kitchen. In the kitchen, I went to be a bar back. And then they were like, well, do you want to work as assistant manager? And I was like, hell yes, And so mostly on my career in Washington, D.C., which I lived like around 10 years, it was managing restaurants.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's mostly my career.
You learned the language.
Yeah.
You had to. It was a necessity. Now, even if you say there's like just a bit, it's the hospitality dictionary, as I say, like with quotes. Give me some tips. I'm trying to learn too. I've got a tutor. I've been studying, and Leslie's very, very fluent, and I feel like I get on her nerves sometimes, right? Asking, what does this mean? What is it? But for you, what was some of the keys for learning the language?
For me, the language, it was the necessity, of course, number one. And number two, it was because I started feeling like I was getting some opportunities. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, if I learn more the language, maybe I feel a little more secure to asking a little more deep questions.
I see.
And I was like, about how things that work in the restaurant. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was most the necessity and the frustration, right? That, you in my head in Spanish, I want to say this, and that. But then I had this bar, but, I couldn't do it. Yeah. So I think it was that. It was something in my head. I was telling that if you want where your heart is saying, you have to learn English.
Yeah. And so flip that, because that's how I feel about Spanish. Because you meet people in DC that do these amazing things. You're learning, all parts of the business. And so I'm meeting mezcaleros and mezcaleras, and I just love the work that they do, but I can't adequately ask them the question. See, this is great for me because I can ask all the questions.
Hey, also, tequila and mezcal helps.
That's right.
It loses their tongue and give you a little more courage, because seriously, sometimes people, I don't know, some states in the United States, you are allowed to smoke some weed, right?
Sure, yeah.
But it sometimes that loosening up is a lot of people have issues of anxiety and things like that. I have anxiety sometimes.
Yeah.
And that loosening up is like, I was like, okay, now I feel like I can.
You're ready to try.
Yes.
So were you staying with your sister in DC?
I stayed with my sister for like 2 years, and then I got my own place. And then she now is no longer, then she went back to Mexico now.
Oh, yeah.
Now she lives in Monaco. Very fancy.
I've never been. It is fancy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've heard incredible things about it. So the next big move, if I understand correctly, is to New York City.
Yeah.
What brought you to New York?
So actually, between DC and New York, actually I live in Connecticut for a couple months. And the reason that I decided to relocate was because DC, it's not as big. Mm-hmm. And I feel that what is next in my life? I've been here for so long, and I find a company that it was very exciting for me, a Spanish restaurant.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was like, I want to work at that restaurant. And then I went to an interview, and told me like, Alan, we're not hiring here, but we are really interested in you. It's like, do you know we have more restaurants? I was like, no, I had no idea. It's like, no, we have 15 restaurants all over the East Coast.
Oh, wow.
It's like, and we have opportunities in Connecticut. Are you willing to relocate? And I was like, well, let me think about it. But at the end, it was great pay. They paid for my relocation. And it was like maybe something in my head. It was like, it was going to be something exciting,
Connecticut?
Yeah.
I've never been. I'm not judging. But how was it in reality?
In reality, the company, it was a great experience.
Yeah.
But Connecticut is just, yes. I think it's beautiful. I think it's great to grow a family right there, start a family, have a house. But it wasn't for me. So I just worked there for 7 months, 8 months.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so close from New York City. I was going in Metro North on the train all the time. So like, I just have to move.
Yeah.
So I started looking for opportunities in New York, and I got hired, and I got relocated. By the way, through all this, I was with my girlfriend which I met in DC.
Mm-hmm.
Then she moved to New York,
Oh, wow.
and I was in Connecticut, so I was visiting her a lot.
You've already gone.
I was already going
Oh,
there.
okay.
So then I decided to just move to New York, and then I started working at another Spanish restaurant in New York. But when I was in Connecticut and before Connecticut, I was mostly managing. That was my profession.
Mm-hmm. At that part, had you been doing bartending yet?
I did bartending in DC,
Yeah.
but for the last years, I was just managing. So then I was like, oh, I think that's my thing. I want to be a manager, which, is a lot of work
Yeah.
for us,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know. But I know well pay. So I was in Connecticut, and then I decided that if I move to New York, I don't want to manage anymore. It's like I want to be a bartender, because in New York you have one of the best bars,
Yeah.
in the planet. And I feel that if I really want to, I was very curious about the cocktail industry, and I was like, I'm not going to learn it being a manager. I want to learn it being behind the bar.
Were you into cocktails yet? Because we always have those moments where maybe we're drinking beer, or maybe we're drinking tequila straight away, but cocktails eventually hit us, and then we're like, oh.
I was really, because I was more in the managing part, I was being like, okay, if I put a cocktail on my menu, it has to be under cost of this much. And then I was dealing who is going to be the spirit of the specific cocktail, depending on the deals that they have and the relationship. So it was more like a business.
Yeah.
So for me, of course it had to taste good, but I couldn't tell you the recipe of a daiquiri.
Yeah.
It was just the numbers related. So that's why I was lacking for that information, and I just decided to, just like I just want to follow what my heart was saying.
Yeah.
Get into the cocktails. Yeah.
Was it a hard adjustment?
No, it was a lot of. Well, of course, it was the challenging of then knowing.
Yeah.
Even what I know what is a rum, I know what it tastes, I know what is aging because through the tequila, but what is the process?
Sure.
I have no idea. I know cognac, it's coming from from Europe, but what is the process, how they made it, I have no idea. So for me, I had definitely to study. So I started buying a lot of books, studying, asking a lot of questions to the bartenders, and on top of that is the recipes.
Yeah.
So, it's just memorizing this recipe. So it was challenging, but it was a lot of fun.
Well, it's absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
learning about, because each of the spirits are their own chapter. They're so different, but they are interweaved. You know what I mean? Like tequila is like mezcal, but they're different.
Yeah.
Brandy is like cognac, because it is, but it's different.
Yeah.
But it sounds like when you don't know something, when you need to learn, you put your head down and you study. First with English, and then now with the different areas of spirits. Is that kind of the thing that you would say that you've got a proclivity to if you don't know something, you sure shit is going to find out?
The thing is that I don't know how many, it happened too many times with me that I was a bartender and the guest asked for a cocktail, and I didn't knew that cocktail or for a specific spirit, and I felt really bad.
Yeah.
The guest is like, what do you mean you don't know this? And I was like, no clue. And then, trying to go with the next to the bartender. Hey, the guest is asking for this and this and this. What is that?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's a cocktail. Oh, what is in the cocktail? Or sometimes, like, oh, it's a rum. So for me, the lacking of knowledge, I was feeling kind of ashamed.
Yeah.
I was like, how come I'm doing this job? I'm behind the bar, but I don't know what I'm supposed to know.
Yeah.
So that was mostly like who they pushed me to to learn. Yeah.
One of the fundamental traits or characteristics that people have to have in the hospitality industry, and so you've got early experience hosting people, but I'll say it, do you enjoy people? Do you like being around people, taking care of them?
I really do. It's just I love to have friends.
Yeah.
And for me it was, I'm very hospitable, and I like to be around good energy.
Yeah.
Someone who has great energy, I'm right there. Even sometimes you have people that are very influential. It's something that somebody will ask you or advise you to be around that people, but if the energy is not good,
Yeah.
I'm just being very polite, but I prefer to hang out with someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find that the person now, we'll get into, because this brand role, this particular chapter is, I think, one of the biggest and most interesting, but as an identity, as a personality behind the bar, do you feel like you can be yourself, or do you have to put a real fine line between sharing too much and being yourself too much?
Well, I feel like it's depending of who you are around. You know, I think as this industry and being bartender and managing, you always wear different hats.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like I learned that technique through the years. So sometimes if I meet someone, then I have the hat. It's like, hey, nice to meet you. You know, and then if I have like someone who I know for a long time, then I have this different hat. So it's like it's still me.
Yeah.
But I approach people just differently.
It's adaptive.
Adapting, yes.
So you start to learn about spirits, you start to learn about cocktails, and you've had a really nicely decorated resume throughout New York City, Cosme, Meta. What was a moment where you were at work, maybe it was a new job, and you're thinking, oh shit, this is actually going to be a huge challenge. This is a lot. I don't know how I'm going to do it.
We go a little back on that. Is like sometimes even when I was bartending, it was that because I feel like I've been very lucky through my life.
Yeah.
I've been applying to places and they hire me. Probably they even know that I'm lacking the knowledge. But sometimes I get the opportunity to work like for me, one of the greatest experiences in the cocktail industry was working. It was opening a hotel in New York. It was the Edition Hotel at the Clock Tower, historic building.
Beautiful hotel.
Yes. And for me, it was that, okay, I'm in. Now what? And then you feel like that pressure in your chest.
Yeah.
So that's where I started kind of learning, the liking that I was having with the cocktails. And then sometimes, but I feel like the same repeats when managing. When I was managing, like when I was with Cosme, I was like, oh my goodness, it's top 50 best restaurants in the world,
right,
and one of the best in New York City. Sometimes you better deliver and better deliver well.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the things I think that's really important, kind of in reviewing your past and the cocktails you've created, there's a bit of information on the internet, of course. But when it comes to inspiration, for instance, I like movies and they inspire me in how I create. People sometimes do. Art especially does. But for you, when you're getting creative, maybe you have an event you have to execute in a different way, a cocktail that needs to come from a different place. What are some things that inspire you that you find as fresh areas that give you ideas?
Well, I have an inspiration. I don't think it's that fresh. But I think like inspiration is, being Mexican.
Yeah.
It's just for me that I'm in the United States but I'm born and raised in Mexico, and that pushed me because we have all these beautiful roots and history and cuisine and music and the thing is that not that many people knows that. Right. It's a lot of lacking of knowledge, and it's fine. It's like I don't know nothing about cocktails,
right?
But for me, it's like I love my country. Mm-hmm. And funny thing is, when I was working, even from bar back or busboy until when I was working at Dante or Cosme, mm-hmm. And I always felt that I was ambassador of Mexico.
Everywhere you go.
Everywhere you go, it's like hey, you know about tacos? Yes, well, not the crispy tacos. That's Taco Bell. What about an authentic taco?
Right.
That kind of things, like experience, this is what we do in Mexico, things like that. So right now, when I do an event or things like that, I was like, it's just, I want to transport and I want to feel, warm, like the hospitality that we have in Mexico.
Yeah. Be a conduit.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's one of the best ways to look at it. Is even though I've moved all around, it's still been, in America, this is very different depending what coast you're on. But it doesn't necessarily give me the inspiration that it does to go down to Oaxaca or go down to Mexico City, right? It's different, vibrant. It really helps me too. But here's one of the things I've kind of started to notice. In Texas is okay. We're very close to Mexico, of course. Do you get people that really have a distorted view of what Mexico is really like? That they don't understand how beautiful it is, how rich in culture it is?
Are we talking about the industry in general?
Just, I would maybe say consumers might be a little more specific.
Well, a perfect example is all over United States with Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah.
You know, Cinco de Mayo, everybody believes it's Mexican Independence Day, and it's a great holiday in Mexico, and which is it's a holiday in Mexico, and it's very important, but it's not Mexican Independence Day, and we don't celebrate it. You know, everybody works. You know, it's not like a
national holiday.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great holiday, but it's not Mexican Independence Day. And when people I don't even know who creates Cinco de Mayo, and that misunderstanding, and people, you know, wearing the sarapes and the big sombreros and the mustache, you know, it's just another excuse to drink, which it's sometimes I celebrate some another holidays just as an excuse to drink. But, you know, everybody's been there. But, you know, it's just in general, it's like and for me, I feel like a part of my job is to, you know, tell people. It's like, you know, educate it. Like, you know, yes, let's have fun in Cinco de Mayo, but let's remember it's La Batalla de Puebla.
Yeah,
you know?
That's absolutely.
Yeah.
And we don't drink a lot, even though we should, because the French were kind of pushed out of Puebla. We should be drinking more cognac and shit on Cinco de Mayo. But it's all margaritas. Right?
Yes.
So the latest chapter in this is the thing, to your credit, Alan. I've had multiple people reach out to me and said, "Hey, have you met this new ambassador, Cazadores?" I said, "No, tell me more about him." And people, you're affecting people, and this isn't meant to be necessarily a deep compliment or anything, but you've affected multiple people that they insisted that we sit down and talk, which is just incredible experience, you know. But now I get it, you know, how personable you are. But tell me how this opportunity came about to finally represent something from your past, from your grandfather's liquor cabinet.
Yeah, well, so basically, I didn't even know how I got this job, and I love it. But basically, working in the industry I did mostly of every single position at a restaurant. And I've been managing a restaurant. So, you know, the first thing that was popping on my head, what's next? And what's next is like, well, I think I should open my own place. It's like, I think it would be the perfect, you know, I have the knowledge. I can, you know, own it and managing at the same time, you know, and so I start looking for ideas, you know, how to open a place and things like that. And then maybe a partner, like, you know, where maybe to, well, you know, back then I was, you know, still in New York City. But then as more I was going deep, I was getting more scared.
Really?
Yes. I was like, hey, this is no joke. Because if I go all the way in, I'm meaning it's not like a turn back.
Right.
And if it's not successful, I'm done. Like, you know, it's just like, I feel like it would be really hard for me to recover for a failure like that.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, you know, I'm too scared. I'm not going to do it. So I kind of wipe it out from my memories. And I was like, but still, it's like, what's next? What's next in my life?
Yeah.
And through working in the industry, even when I was still managing or bartending, I always attend to the ambassadors, you know, educational, whatever they're representing. You know, it was like a tasting, you know, from a tequila or vodka or brandy or pisco, whatever. I was like, I'm there. I always was managing my time to go and
that is a very, very important thing. You were willing, because you wanted to learn, willing to give up your time. And what that happens over time is when you're willing to give up your time, people give you their time.
Yes.
It ends up being this kind of interesting balance. So I presume there was a fortuitous meeting about Cazadores, or probably other brands, I'm sure, were talking to you.
Well, yeah, you know, I'm a big fan of tequila and everything actually the agave produce.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that comes from the agave, I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
So for me, it was when I see the ambassadors, I was like, what a great job. What a cool job. What a great people they are.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I've been learning a lot from them. Plus, they're super cool. They're very humble.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly of them.
Sure.
You know, everybody has different personalities.
Yeah.
But I really, something start, you know, in my head that, you know, I should apply for that, for a job. But then talking with another friends who work in the industry, it's like, Alan, I think you would be great an ambassador. It's like, actually, they were like, I just saw in Facebook that it's an open position for Jack Daniels. And I was like, bro, do you hear my accent? I don't think I can do Jack Daniels.
Well, they're trying to diversify, Alan. It seems like a good role for you.
You know, nothing wrong with Jack Daniels. I love Jack Daniels. But, you know, my thing is like, I don't feel like I could do that job.
Yeah.
You know, and so with that question, at that answer, then I was like, oh my goodness, now I know what I want. I want to represent something that can identify me.
Yeah.
So what I feel really comfortable, what I have a lot of knowledge, and I was like, and actually kind of weird, but it took me kind of a little bit that, because like, oh, well, maybe rum, maybe whiskey. And I was like, for some reason, the tequila wasn't the first answer.
Really?
I don't know why.
Even though it's, you know, really just down the street.
And then I decide, it's like, okay, it has to be tequila.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, how come I couldn't believe that? So I decided that I only going to apply to look for a job for a tequila brand ambassador. That's my goal.
What year was it when you made this decision?
2016, probably.
Wow, a few years ago.
Yeah, 2016, 2017, yes. And then we're 2019, 2017. I went to another tasting, and it was for Tequila Cazadores, and that was in New York City. It was in Brooklyn at Leyenda.
Oh yeah.
And being there, I met the global ambassador. So back then, he's the North America. His name is Manny Hinojosa, and I was like, oh my goodness, he's so cool.
Yeah.
And I hear for Cazadores before, because, you know, it was in my grandfather's cabinet.
Yeah.
And I was going to a lot of Bacardi events, so I already identified who was the Bacardi portfolio, who works for Bacardi. So after the tasting, we were just hanging out at the bar, and I approached the Bacardi portfolio ambassador. Her name is Anna. And I was like, Anna, I really, really want a job as a brand ambassador, but for tequila.
Yeah.
That's what I say. I didn't say nothing else. It's like, okay, Anna, send me your resume. You know, after, you know, but before that, we already knew each other for a little bit. I sent a resume, and she told me, Alan, nothing is open at the moment, but when something opens, we'll definitely let you know. A year later, I was working at Seamstress. I was bartending, and she walked in with a huge smile on her face. She's like, Alan. And I'm like, wow, what's going on? It's like, finally it's happening. The position of brand ambassador for tequila, it's open. You should apply now. She then told me twice that night after my finish was done. I apply, and, you know, the rest is history.
You know, it's one of the things that I admire about you and the story is that timeliness is this theme, right? Maybe you need to email someone with a question, simple. Maybe you need to text somebody with a particular question, simple. But you're going to get it done quickly. Again, it goes back to giving your time. And we just got back from Houston this week, and there was a USBG event about branding and stuff I was talking about. And it's always about making sure just do the thing fast, you know, like just please reply, because this is something I think a lot of people don't understand. Time is absolutely of the essence, especially in these kinds of opportunities. So now, almost 2 years or full 2 years anniversary yet? Not yet?
It's been like a year and a couple months only.
Wow,
I feel like it's been like for 2 years or 3 years. Seriously.
I mean, your hair it's a little gray. Like that's how I judge.
Crazy thing. Okay, just a little parenthesis. They were taking a video of me yesterday, and there was a little close up, and then it was me because I was laughing. I was just talking about tequila Cazadores, but a funny way. And they showed me the video, and everybody was laughing. And then I put a pause on the video, and I was like, "My hair is getting so great."
Oh man,
yeah.
It's almost like it's been a tough month. They're like, "Oh great, well this section of my chin's now gray for forever now."
Yeah, but that's all. Also, I'm not young. I'm almost 40.
Well, no, me too. Once your birthday's like June 4th. Is that
June 4, 82.
82. Wow.
Yeah.
I got 40 in February 4th.
Oh, yeah, you're older than me.
Yeah.
Oh, well, mine is still a couple of years. You're around the corner.
Well, no, I'm chasing the grave now. You still got a lot of life left in you.
Of course. Hey, this is the best years of my life, so.
It really is as you get older. All right, so let's talk about Tequila Cazadores, because from a production perspective, I'm not going to drill you. It really bothers me sometimes about how people are really dogmatic, like agave must be this, mezcal must be this. I'm very open to all of it. And interestingly enough, my parents are in town. They haven't been in town for about 6 months or so. And my dad's got a couple bottles behind the bar in their RV, of all places. And there's a bottle of Cazadores. And I said, "Oh, when did you get that?" He says, "Oh, I've been getting it from margaritas." I'm like, "Okay, cool. I'm going to interview the guy." He's never really that impressed, but I'm impressed with myself, So. But it's an 80 proof, it's blue agave, of course, made in Jalisco. Highland, lowland, how would you describe the flavor of Cazadores?
So tequila Cazadores, it is, like you said, it's 100% blue agave tequila. And it is from Jalisco. And, the two major regions to produce tequila is Los Altos de Jalisco, the highlands. Or a lot of people, they call them the lowlands, but the real name is El Valle, the valley. Uh-huh. So Tequila Cazadores is from Los Altos de Jalisco. Each region from the valley and the highlands is completely different. Mm-hmm. It's completely different terroir. And there's something very unique about Tequila Cazadores is we have a red clay soil.
Like Arandas, right?
Yeah, because we're in Arandas.
Oh, you are? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Is that the same region? Okay.
Yeah, so we are in the highlands. It's a small town. It calls Arandas.
Ah, yes.
So we are from there. Yeah.
Not bad company up there. There's some good people up there. Some good tequileros.
Yeah, it's a great tequila. We are really close from other region. Like, it's a great tequila producers.
Do you, when people, and this is not a question I'm going to ask, but people, because you're education, you're in front of a lot of consumers, a lot of industry. What are some of the common concerns or questions you get in your classes or your events about agave in general?
So it's this is funny thing, but before I tell you, it's that I've been doing lots of trainings. Like I'm telling you, like a lot of trainings with a lot of people, and I don't get that many challenging questions.
That's probably good.
Yeah. So, not challenging, but sometimes like I'm more specific on the production of the tequila.
Sure.
I don't know if if I'm doing a great job or they're too shy or lacking a knowledge. I have no idea. But I know will come, and I feel like this kind of question is basically that's the one. It's like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
So, for me, when people they ask me like some really good question, it's like, hey, what's going on with the agave? Sure. I hear it's a shortage of agave production, and then another people they are asking is like, well, how sustainable you guys are? I hear this another tequila brands are doing this and that. And then the big question it is, what's going on with the diffuser? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And one of the greatest things that, like you say, everything is happening in the right time.
Yeah.
When I started working at Tequila Cazadores, we had a new brand director, and he had his own way to do his work. and one of his priorities it was update the training material.
Yeah.
And so I had the opportunity to be participating on how to update this training material. And one of my suggestions was like, we have to talk about what is a diffuser,
Yeah,
and why we're using it. Because a lot of tequila brands, they use a diffuser, but nobody talks about it actually.
Sure. Well, it's kind of just, if you're going to, in a way, it's lying about it if you don't want to talk about it. You can't just, it's a detailed production. You can't just shove under the rug.
Yeah.
It's so, oh yeah. Well, it's good. Well, it was sunny when you got here, and apparently me talking so much drove it to be cloudy.
Yeah, no, at all. Yeah. It's been a weird, interesting weather.
It's very, very different back and forth. But so, all right. So let's ask the question then. The diffuser, I can see some of the efficiencies of it, and honestly, I haven't sat down to try to understand the flavors between the two. How do you feel about it?
So, for me, when I talk about this, about the diffuser, I try to tell them, explain it. Well, what is the machine does?
Yeah.
And basically trying to understand that, then, which I can talk about it, but it's just what is the machine? But basically, and then what the machine does, and basically what's the difference between one diffuser versus the other diffuser.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I like to highlight the most is that, well, I don't know exactly how the other diffusers they work, because they don't talk about it.
They don't.
So the only information that you get is on the internet, on the blogs.
Yeah.
And people, they've been finding out somehow how they've been using these diffusers, and they were talking about it like some ways that Tequila Cazadores doesn't do at all.
Mm-hmm.
Number one is we don't use any kind of acids. And and then we don't cook through the diffuser. We cook after diffuse, we cook it with the autoclaves. So we only use the diffuser because it is...
Really? So it's a combo of using chemicals and heat and water, and then also using an autoclave.
Yeah, so basically we use only the machine. It's an acid-free machine, and what the diffuser does is just extract the sugars of the agave. Right. So the raw agave goes from one side, and in small pieces. We mill it first.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then how the diffuser works, it's from the bottom you have steam, and from the top you have fresh water.
Yep.
And you have 16 cascades. Some tequila brands, they use acid. We are not. Why the other tequila brands, they use acid? Two, because they don't mill. They put the entire piña to the diffuser. So they have to use acid to loosen the fibers to extract the juices. And the acid somehow cooks the agave. But then what they do is they increase the heat, the steam heat. So they do two processes in one.
Yeah.
So they, extract the sugars and they cook the sugars at the same time. So we just use water and steam.
Yeah.
So we don't use a high temperature. It's a low temperature, just enough to lose a little of the agaves, but then the water pressure then is extract all the juices.
Yeah.
So basically we extract up to 99% of the sugars of the agave, which at the end we use less agave from the field.
Yeah. Well, because there's more efficiencies. One of the things is that, and I don't make a stance on it necessarily, because I want everybody to kind of taste, and if you like the way it tastes, then you like the way it tastes, but 99.9% is a much more efficient yield than any other method ultimately.
So basically, yes, you're 100%. It's way, way more efficient. And it's, we do it because as when Bacardi got Tequila Cazadores, it was in 2007, and the diffuser was already Tequila Cazadores distillery.
Yeah.
The family who owned Cazadores, they installed the diffuser. What we hear is in 1994, 1996, it was the worst harvesting or worse shortage of agave. So why? Because it was a horrible winters and it was a bug that was eating the agaves. So the family who owned Tequila Cazadores, they are like, oh my goodness, if this keeps going, we're not going to survive this industry. So they start finding different kind of options how they can, survive if this continue.
Right.
So they install the diffuser. Why? Because you can strap more sugars
It's
versus
like
the Taona.
Yeah, it's scarcity proof in a way, right? I never thought about it like that, to deploy a piece of, mechanical piece of equipment that it says, well, I know that things are going to be tough sometimes, and we have to find a way to brave that. So I didn't know that was really part of the strategy.
And right now, when tequila took over the distillery, one of the greatest things about the company that I feel really proud is, now all the distilleries, they're trying to make them as sustainable and zero waste. So they're making a huge investment to each of them. One of the huge investments they do at Tequila Cazadores is they install a machine right next to the diffuser. What this machine does is treats the agave fibers. We call them bagazo in Spanish. So at the end of the diffuser, you have the raw agave, which it goes to the autoclave. And then on the other side, you have agave fibers with no sugars at all. So we use this machine. It calls a biomass boiler and treats these agave fibers, and it produces into biofuel. So the energy that it produces, like a 60% of energy of basically the distillery.
From this mechanism,
So basically, it's something that Tequila Bacardi added to, trying to help the environment, trying to be at, if we already have something that's wasteful, let's try to use for a really good reason.
Right, yeah.
And I like to say sometimes an example when I'm in a restaurant or a bar, I tell the bartenders or the managers, like, well, picture this. You are in your restaurant or your bar, and you collect all the leftovers or your food from the guests and all the garnishes. You separate, and then you put it to the diffuse machine, and the diffuse machine will produce 60% of energy of your restaurant or bar.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool, right? You know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's and that and a lot of different kind of examples that right now Tequila Cazadores is sustainable and zero waste.
Yeah.
Yes, we started from the 1920s, but right now we just trying to take care of the planet. So for me, it's one of the greatest things that it's a lot of different that I can talk about it, but later on, but a different kind of steps during the process that they make us very sustainable, very green. But then I think I went a little over the conversation because we were talking about the flavors, right? Also,
but in a way. So let me I'll ask a different question that kind of ties all this together. But there's a massive interest in agave.
Yes.
Soto, Raicilla, Mezcal, Tequila. Yeah. How do you feel about the growing interest in all of the agave?
Like the agave boom?
That's right. Well, but it's weird because is it really that much money, or is it more good PR? This is the thing I always am kind of struggling with, because it's been an increase. I think I can't remember the number. I think it was like, really, when it comes down to it, 60% increase year over year in agave and mezcal sales, for instance. But does that worry you? Everybody coming into this beautiful category, does that cause a problem, or is it an opportunity?
I think right now we have El Consejo Regulador de Tequila, which Regulatory Tequila Council. So basically, right now, Mexico's government sometimes it gets crazy, a lot of corruption, but it's a good people. And then they're trying to basically increase the production of the tequila because they see this is a great business. And it's a great business, not just money-wise, but also to represent Mexico all over the globe. Everybody, even Mexico, where it's a tourist they want to make sure that everybody tastes the tequila because the tequila, it has a history, and this is Mexico. So, we want people who come to Mexico and try the tequila. So I feel like tequila has been growing like crazy this past year. But I feel it's mostly is because Mexico wants to be everywhere.
Yeah.
And if you're, the history tells you, because, a lot of people it's been going for many, many years to, how you call it, the vacation, the spring break.
Oh,
Mexico.
right. Yeah.
And a lot of people, they just learn the good way or the bad way about tequila, and probably they were drinking, tequila mixto and a lot of tequila and start getting some reputation. Could be good or could be bad.
Yeah.
But they were go back to their countries and they were talking about tequila. But I believe where it was the huge increase of tequila, it was through the celebrities of the tequila. The big deal of
the George Clooney thing. There's
thing.
The Rock's got a new brand launching.
Coming up.
Some other country artist, whatever, man. Like George Strait's got one. Codijo, I think he's got a mark over there. And we're not gonna. That happens. And
so for me, it is that a lot of people they're like, oh, but but what about the agave? To make tequila, it takes take from 5 to 10 years sometimes.
Yeah.
So what is going to happen with tequila? So where right now is promising Consejo Regulador de Tequila or CRT or TRC, they're promising that for every tequila that's supposed to be sold, it should be enough agave. And they know they were doing their demographics from the next years.
Yeah,
they know that it's
forecasting.
Thank you. They're doing the forecasting and they know it's going to increase every year. So they supposed to make sure that every tequila brand, they should be aware, or they should start making contracts with the agaveros, the jimadores, or the people who grow the agave. They're making contracts to make sure that we have enough agave for, forever, basically, in 20 years, 50 years, and 80 years.
So it'll be here. There's a bit of panic, I think. There's a bit of, what's the word? People are getting worried. Paranoia.
But that's good to have paranoia. But then, I tell sometimes people, it's like, sometimes do your homework. Like, trying to, Google, trying to find out. Because, sometimes people, they're waiting for the answers and they're not willing to, look for them.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things, too, is that I don't ever consider myself in a journalistic capacity, but I know people listen to this, and I know that people expect some answers, but I don't want to color anything. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that I don't have a stance, but you can probably blind me on something. I'm like, oh, this tastes good. It's like, oh, well, it's diffuser. Like, oh, okay. I'm not going to be pissed about it, But I think that's the thing that really bothers me is they're dogmatic about it, and they're just so, well, if it's not done this way, it's not right. But then if you just take out that element of them knowing.
It's like people ask me like a lot, actually. They're like, okay, Alan, you represent Tequila Cazadores and you born and raised in Mexico. It's like yes. It's like before you represent Tequila Cazadores, what kind of tequilas you used to drink? Or now that you have Cazadores, it's like do you have a favorite tequilas? And I was like, yeah, of course. That's I feel like it's like if you're a wine producer, you not only want to drink your own wine, you respect the other expressions.
Yeah.
And you're going to drink, and then you want to actually, learn, what they're doing and appreciate the art of, basically in that case, we're talking about wine, but the art of tequila.
Sure.
The art of fermenting and distilling, because it's where you get all the flavors and the aromas.
Yeah.
So for me, like when people tell me about like the thing is like the diffuser, it will change the flavor of the tequila. It's like well, maybe if you add acids, probably.
Yeah.
But in our case, we don't use any acids. We just extracting the sugar,
and
then after that, we cook the raw agave in the autoclave. Right now, we're not trying to change the flavors. We're just trying to make sure that the sugars are ready to be fermentable.
Yeah.
Where what is tequila for Tequila Cazadores is or fermentation and or distillation.
Yeah.
That's the most important.
Yeah, and you can give me your recipe, and I can try to do it, and I'll never make it taste the same. So that's the great part, is that everybody tastes different. They've got different recipes and air quotes and different processes, and that's what provides such a eclectic mix of agave stuff. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
So it does, I got a couple questions left for you. This is one of the most notable weekends in Austin.
Yes.
Because of ACL Festival. You being here in town, does that have anything to do with the festival?
No. I am in town. I would love to go to the concerts, but I will not have the time to do it. I'm here in Texas because La Gran Familia, which we call it as a Bacardi, that because it's a company that's still family owned. So I'm going to meet all my primos and primas. That's how we call it, all our family. Like, basically, we have a huge advocacy summit. Yeah. So ambassadors from all over North America, we're meeting here in Austin, Texas, for 2 days seminar. And we want to be like about 90 ambassadors.
Wow.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool.
Some great people in the mix there. Mr. Dwayne Fernandez, I hope he's joining you guys.
Oh, yes, he will be there.
Nate Rafael.
Yeah.
Andres Chopita Para, which is a good guy as well.
He is amazing.
Yeah.
If you're hearing this, Andres, I love you.
He will, because he's the one that kept getting us to try to make sure we were talking to get this thing to happen.
Yeah.
Well, so I've got 2 more questions for you.
Yeah.
One of which is, you're sipping Cazadores anywhere in the world, doesn't matter where, but you can have a sip and a conversation with anyone, living or deceased. Who would you love to just post up at the bar with and have a conversation with?
I was looking, someone post. Oh no, I was reading an article from someone, and they made a question to a very influential bartenders. And I tried to ask that same question for me. I was like, who would I like to drink a really nice tequila?
Yeah.
And it has to be present, past.
Anybody deceased or anybody, really.
Anybody in the history. Wow. I probably, it's crazy. It's just so many people in my head.
Yeah.
But I probably would be one of the pioneers of the tequila industry, probably, because tequila, it has a history of, at some point in the history, tequila was running the country.
Yeah.
So it was very related to the politics. It was very related to the industry, giving the jobs to people. So, and then I feel like back then, people, they find out that tequila was representing Mexico. Mm-hmm. They call it la mexicanidad. So I think, probably one of the pioneers of the tequila, which is Tequila Sausa, Jose Cuervo. I don't know, one of those producers, or having both of them and be like, hey guys, so let's talk about tequila.
And they couldn't have probably seen that far ago that it would have such an impact on modern economics, no less modern culture, right?
I would love to do it with Frida Kahlo too.
Ah, yes. Yes, I heard in Diego both. I think we would love to sit with both of them.
Now that we do a combo, both of them. Ooh.
Yeah. Oh man.
And then they're screaming each other and fighting and then kissing again.
That's right. I don't think we'd walk away unscathed. I think there'd be 1 or 2 punches thrown. From whom? That's anyone's guess, right? So the last question is, as you've got a year and 2 months into this role, and there are lots of questions, lots of places to go, lots of places to be, lots of people to meet. What's kind of the thing that keeps you balanced? Because when you're out being social, potentially drinking, that's always a choice, right? But being healthy, being centered, having clarity, what are some things that you do to maintain clarity, centeredness as you're traveling all the time?
So basically, my job is the North America Tequila Brand Ambassador. So I go all over the United States. I go to Canada. And I had the opportunity to go, of course, to the tequila distillery, which is in Jalisco. So I go and visit my family. Best job ever.
Yeah.
So, and we had to have definitely a balance. I feel like when I start, because I never been a brand ambassador before.
Right,
from bartender, I jumped to being North America brand ambassador. Wow, I can't believe it. But I I start feeling it in my body. I was like, I was, being in restaurants all the time. The option of drinking is there, and I start feeling it in my body, and then traveling. So for me, the word something that will really, really balance is working out.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, it was, I love food.
Yeah.
And sometimes because I start traveling so much, I was asking, the most traditional healthy dish of each city. And sometimes they're not the most healthy ones.
Right.
So, it's the eating, but the most important is the working out. And right now, Tequila Cazadores, it has a great program. It calls Bar Spar. I don't know if you heard about it before.
Yeah.
It's where we train bartenders to become amateur boxers. And we're doing it because the life of the bartenders is sometimes it's not the best or more healthy one.
Yeah.
So we're trying to give you the opportunity and teach them how can still being a bartender, you can be very a healthy bartender. So we train for 90 days, and then after that they do a huge fight night, huge production, almost like in Las Vegas. And I had the great opportunity that when I'm traveling, right now we have bartenders training from all over. Right now we have people in Toronto, in Vancouver, in Chicago, New York. They're about to start training people in Vancouver, San Diego, Dallas, Las Vegas, San Francisco. Yeah. So when I'm traveling, I'm going to the training venue and then start boxing with them.
You put the paddles on, you get them to do the jabs and the uppercuts.
Yes. I'm really bad in coordination, but the working out is unreal.
Yeah.
And when if I don't have the opportunity to have the same day when they are training, when I'm traveling and I have the opportunity to go and book my hotel, I always try to find a hotel with a nice gym.
Yeah.
Because that will inspire me and push me to do some exercise. I'm not a person who runs. I need a gym.
Yeah. No, weightlifting I think is really, really important. And I feel the same way. If you're going to live a life that's social, which is great, but if you're going to integrate cocktails or booze, you have to have a balance there. A salad, jump roping, all these things I think is really important.
Agree.
Well, finally, so we've waited, I think it's 9 months. It's bound to be at least 9 months since we've tried to get together.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yes,
it's been a while.
Yes. So I was, and before coming to Austin, I've been everywhere. I've been traveling a lot, and I wasn't sure which exactly dates I was coming. So I got my ticket last minute, which it was crazy the price because we had the ACL.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, the concerts. Yeah. So I was like, why so expensive? And I was like, because the concerts.
Everybody wants to be here. Yeah.
Yes. And I was like, so finally, when I booked my hotel, the first thing it pops in my head is like, I have to contact him. It's like, hopefully he's available. And, if he's not available, at least, the interest is right there.
Yeah, of course.
Because I was, looking forward to have this opportunity and talk to you. And so you had this space, you gave me this opportunity, a couple, hours we talk. I don't know.
It was like we're at an hour and 9 minutes. Which is exactly perfect.
Yes. So thank you for your time.
Of
really
course,
appreciate
man.
it, man.
It's about giving time. It's about sharing time. But it's also about having a list of things you want to knock out. So, it's a short list of people that I want to interview. And it grows, of course, but it's like whenever Alan is in town.
Hey, I hear your podcast. I think that great. You have a great people who you interview, and I'm pretty sure that you will continue to have a great podcast. So I'm very glad I'm now one of them. Yeah.
Part of the team now.
Part of the team.
It's great.
Scarf.
There you go. Well, it's been brilliant finally getting to sit down and chat with you. Thanks so much for sharing all this stuff, and hopefully we'll see each other soon. Let me know next time you're in Austin. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can have some tequilitas and mezcales.
That's more than ever.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Safe travels.
Okay. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
So there we have it. What do you guys think? Mr. Alan Ruesga-Pelayo of Cazadores Tequila. Really interesting guy. Has fought his way to be where he is, learning English, being in the kitchen, being on the floor, learning wine, learning agave, everything in between. It was great that we'd been battling it out to try to figure out how to set up a chat for months now. And thanks to Andres Chupita Para, It finally happened via email. Alan, so lovely to chat with you. I hope we get to sip some more mezcal very soon. So thanks everybody for listening to Show to V with Mike G. No matter how many cups of coffee you've had today, or if you've simply forgotten to put on pants because you've been cleaning the house, please keep dancing.